Well, hello and welcome to another hardcore Nuzlocke. Today I want to attempt a run of Pokemon Black using only Dark types. The last time we did a Gen 5 run, it was wildly successful. A lot of people love Gen 5, and even though I'm an OG Gen 1 player, I too love Generation 5. With that being said, you guys know, the downside of playing Pokemon Black and White is the Unova Dex. Our encounters are very limited, and as a matter of fact, there are only 6 encounters that we can get in this run. Technically, there is a 7th encounter. When we get to Castelia City, I will talk more about it. The very first encounter that we can get in this game isn't until Route 2, and we're going to have to use it through the first 2 gyms in a battle with N, where he has a Timber with Low Kick. So we need a little bit of luck, otherwise this is going to take multiple attempts. Just like in any other run, none of these starters are of course the type we're running, so I'm going to choose Snivy. This gives Charon the Tepig, which may be a challenge later on in the game. As you guys know, there's a lot of rival battles, so we will see. I mean, wow. Despite a Pokemon battle, this is actually what a teenager's bedroom looks like in real life. If you guys have never seen it, you don't have kids, this is 100%. I mean, my kid at least has his trash in a trash bag, not laying on the floor. I've also gotten better at deleting the internet browser history. My friends didn't even check because they're so focused on other things, so we'll just let that one slide. As we head downstairs, my friends do offer to clean up the room, and they do apologize for the damage made, but my mom remembers being a Pokemon trainer at one point in her life, and is happy just to hear the commotion. That is what brings her joy in life, is seeing her kid have fun. So fulfilled she is. I really feel bad for you, lady. That's what gives you fulfillment. You really need a hobby or a partner, you know? Somebody to share your day in and day out with. As stated before, our first encounter isn't until Route 2, so we're going to have to use our starter Snivy here for the first part of this game. Now technically, if we had access to surf, we could surf in this water here to a dark patch of grass and we could find a Scraggy. I could have changed the starter to Scraggy, since that is technically a Route 1 encounter, and done the whole game with a dark type, but I figured why not stay true to the run, and let's get a Purloin on Route 2. The first part of this game, the first couple of routes, it's all tutorial stuff, so it's no big deal. Generation 5 changed quite a few things, but one of my favorite things that they changed is the Pokemon Center is now a one-stop shop. We can buy items, we can buy different mails and different Pokeballs and TMs, and everything is right here. I know you just had to hop out of a door and go next door to the Pokemart, but this is just a quality of life change that I absolutely love, and I wanted to point it out. Anytime you play a Pokemon game and there's a team that's very organized and they're starting to really get behind an ideology, they're probably not good. The pajama-wearing PETA people that want a free Pokemon, they're definitely lying. I can see that snide, smug look on Ghetsis' face. He's not fooling me one bit. I know your ultimate plan is to take over the world, and my ultimate plan is to defeat you. Yes, you, Mr. Liberator of Pokemon. He's so full of it. He's so full of it. On Route 2, we have our first official encounter and starter, Purloin. Now, Purloin is not an exceptionally great Pokemon. It's kind of fast, and with some EV training, it could hit decent. The best move we're going to have is Fury Swipes, and of course, that's not 100% accurate, so as I said before, the battle with Chili is going to be somewhat luck-based, but that one I'm not too worried about. Then once we get over to Nacrene City, N is going to be difficult with his low-kicking Timber, and then of course, Lenora has her retaliating Pokemon, so there's going to be a lot of luck. Now, of course, we need to actually catch this thing, and hopefully we don't knock it out, but eventually we do get it inside of a Pokeball. Awesome. There is a nickname theme, as is with any other run, and I'm going to go ahead and name Purloin here Ceres. Can you guess the name theme off of this first Pokemon? Can you? Anyway, looking at Purloin here, it has a rash plus special attack minus special defense nature. That's not great. The Unburden ability we might be able to use, but I don't know if it's really going to come in handy. I would have much preferred Limber. As you guys know, in Pokemon Black and White, there are just an absolute ton of rival battles throughout the entirety of the game. They gave us 3 rivals in Bianca and Cheren, and of course we can't nickname any of them, so in my head I have named all 3 of them Algorithm. Because why, you may ask? Well, I will tell you. We are trying to beat the Algorithm both in-game and in real life. You guys can help me beat the Algorithm in real life by liking the video, commenting, subscribing, sharing it with your friends, hitting the notification bell. All of those different things help me beat the Algorithm week in and week out. Positive comments, negative comments, thumbs up, thumbs down, doesn't matter. Any and all interactions, I will take it. And I will thank you ever so much. Even if it's a comment like, hey, I can tell by your voice that you have a stupid face and I don't like your stupid face. That's fine. That's fine. YouTube's going to be like, thank you for your comment. Push the video. Now, of course, Bianca is the easiest of the rivals, and that's the biggest reason why I was even showing this battle. I'm not going to show many more battles from her. If I find myself struggling in a battle with Bianca, maybe I'll rethink my Nuzlocke career. Now, as we get to the trainer school to take on Cheren, he's going to teach us about berries and held items and stuff like that, and we're still in the tutorial part of the game. But I need to get these mandatory battles out of the way so that I can take Ceres back to Route 1 and do some EV training. Having one Pokemon on the team is difficult with experience management. Luckily for us, the way Gen 5 works, we're going to be able to do some full EV training because we don't gain a lot of experience from the wild Pokemon. Now, Cheren is not difficult in this battle. There's going to be a couple of battles where things can get dicey, and if they get dicey, I'm going to show those battles. But more or less, like I said with Bianca, we're not going to show a lot of these rival battles. What I do want to talk about real quick while I got you guys is the continued support I've seen on the channel. It has been absolutely amazing. I thank you guys so much. The last episode that we put out, the ground run of Fire Red, was a huge hit. Now I'd like to think it's because Fire Red, everybody loves the Gen 1 remakes. I'd like to think that it's my commentary or my great video making skills, but you know as well as I know, as well as YouTube knows, that it was the shiny that did it. Everybody loves a shiny. And maybe that's a key. Maybe what I need to do every week is put a shiny in the title, on the screen, in the thumbnail. Yeah, great commentary, right? And that would get us just the views, right? If we had a shiny we could put in every thumbnail, you know, maybe I just need to do a little bit of shiny hunting in each one of these videos. The unfortunate thing is time is not on my side, as I spoke in the last clip. So we've really got to work with what we've got time-wise to get these videos up. I just need to maybe do like a shiny dance. I don't know what that even is. To the RNG gods. Yeah, I honestly don't know. If you could see me just kind of like bobbing in my chair and waving my hands right now, moving on. Against Chili, the plan is very simple. We're going to lead with Ceres because it's the only Pokemon we've got, and we're going to click Fury Swipes. We hope that Fury Swipes actually hits, and then we hope we get multiple hits. Some crits would be nice as well. Unfortunately, I cannot equip a berry because Incinerate. Turn 1, we do get a 3-turn Fury Swipes, which is nice, and then we get hit with a Bite that doesn't do a lot of damage, and that is absolutely amazing. We fire off another Fury Swipes against the Lillipup, and it looks like we're going to get a 4-turn Fury Swipe to knock it out. That is actually amazing luck. We've only taken 5 hit points of damage. Again, Pansear is a little bit dangerous because it can go for Incinerate and do some damage, but we're going to fire off those Fury Swipes, and we only get a 2-turn the first turn. It just goes for Workup. That can get a little dicey pretty quick. I go for another Fury Swipes. We get pretty lucky with getting a 4-turn Fury Swipe once again. And Pansear just goes for Workup. Okay, perfect. If we get another 4-turn Fury Swipes, we win. Fury Swipes does connect, and luckily for us, it gets a critical hit, and then hits 2 more times to knock out the Pansear, with us only taking 5 hit points of damage in this first battle. Okay, my RNG dance that I just did in the last clip is coming in clutch. If you talk to this preschooler, he says, I'll run, you gonna chase me? You run, am I gonna chase you? Change your perspective, and the reality changes. This kid's going places. Maybe even college. Pretty deep for a preschooler. Oh man, this slide reminds me of my childhood. I can't even slide down it. Luckily, it's nighttime and this thing isn't burning metal and searing my flesh to the bone. The twins right here will not let you pass unless you have 2 Pokemon in your party. It's not like Pokemon Emerald where you can just have 1 and skate by. You have to have 2. They will not let you pass, so I had to go back to the box and grab Snivy to do this battle. It's a weird little thing, but we have to do it. Obviously, we're in the Wellspring Cave, and we get the TM for Thief. Of course, this is the place where we want to do some running around and get our hands on maybe a couple of gems, maybe a normal gem, maybe a dark gem. I don't know if they will help us going forward, but I want to collect some whilst we're here nonetheless. We're in Nacrene City, and we have to battle N, and his low-kicking Timber is very, very scary. His Pidove and his Temple, I'm not so worried about. We just got to hope for some good luck. Now, turn 1, I do get out prioritized, and I get hit with a quick attack that does 18 ticks of damage. It was a critical hit, but still, holy crap. Fury Swipes connects 4 times, taking Pidove really, really low. We get hit with another quick attack that takes us down to 21 HP, activating our Oranberry, and I guess I should have been more concerned about the Pidove. Luckily, we take it out with 1 more Fury Swipes, and we're sitting at 31 HP. Is that enough to take on the Timber? Let's find out. I click Fury Swipes. 1, 2. Ooh, that one crit. Oh, but it's only 2, and Timber goes for Focus Energy. We click Fury Swipes again. 1, 2, no crit, and it only hits 2 times. We get hit with Low Kick, and we survive on 7 HP. We need some luck. Fury Swipes. 1, 2. Yes! Yes, we take out the Timber. That is awesome. I'm sitting at 7 HP. Temple could still take us out. Fury Swipes. 1, 2. That was a big 2. Critical hit. Nice. 3. And 4. We take out the Temple with 7 HP. Wow. Just before the normal type gym and level cap, we do have an evolution with Ceres evolving into a Liepard. This is going to help us a little bit going into the normal type gym, but it is not at all a saving grace, and this guarantees a win. It's still, having a fully evolved Pokemon on the team is going to be amazing. Going up against Lenora and her normal types is very scary. We have 1 Pokemon, she has an intimidating Herdier that's going to drop our attacks so our physical attacks don't do as much damage. Fury Swipes is less than accurate, there aren't any good held items. I can't buff my attack, I can't buff my defense. This is going to be very heavily RNG based. Fury Swipes turn 1 does get a 3-turn Fury Swipes, but I get tagged with a Leer. That's even more scary. What's worse is next turn we miss that less than accurate Fury Swipe and we get hit with a takedown down to 26 HP, activating our Oranberry. The recoil damage does bring Herdier down to almost half, and then the next turn Fury Swipe gets a critical hit, and it is a 4-turn Fury Swipe to knock out the Herdier. That is huge. Watchog comes out, and I decide to go for Sand Attack turn 1 to lower this thing's accuracy. I do not want it to hit us with a double-powered Retaliate, but it's going for Hypnosis, and it misses. That's awesome. Another Sand Attack to lower this thing's accuracy because I don't know what else to do. Hypnosis misses again. I then start firing off Fury Swipes. They're not doing a lot of damage. We do get a 3-turn Fury Swipes that does just about a quarter, and it misses Retaliate, which is phenomenal. I cannot get hit. My heart is in my throat, my fingers are crossed. We get a 5-turn Fury Swipes and a Retaliate avoiding, which is amazing. I switch up to Pursuit, and Pursuit actually does a lot of damage. And then we get tagged with Hypnosis. Well, I see a wipe in our future. Lenora then uses her Super Potion, because they can use items, I can't. And I stay asleep. I then wake up and use Pursuit, and again, Pursuit is doing a decent amount of damage and we avoid a Retaliate. Unfortunately, it's not quite doing a quarter because we don't bring Watchhog to half, and then we do finally get hit with a Retaliate to 6 HP. I then decide to risk it for the biscuits, going for Fury Swipes, and it hits 3 times. We avoid a Retaliate, and I don't really know what to do, so I just go for another Fury Swipe, hoping for a 5-turn Fury Swipes, and it hits twice. We avoid a Crunch, and a Pursuit is enough to knock out the Watchhog. No words. I have no words. The Pajama Pita people are really a special group of people. They should probably be wearing helmets instead of hoods because they steal the Dragonite skull, thinking it's the legendary dragon. Obviously, none of them have played Gen 1. I mean, it's legendary in its own right, but not in the right that they're going for. And of course, this forces us into the storyline stuff where we gotta chase these guys down through Pinwheel Forest. After all the storyline stuff, we find ourselves in Castelia City, and this is where the game for us opens up with our dark type run. Running down the back alleyway, I do get flashed by this gentleman behind a dumpster, and thank you for all of that in the TM, but go ahead and put your worm away. I'm trying to play Pokemon. Finally making our way to Route 4, we open up another encounter, either a Scraggy or a Sandile. And our encounter is a Holy sh... It's shiny? My family's asleep right now or I would scream. Oh my god. Yes! Shiny Sandile is super cool looking, but its 2 evolutions are very weird looking, in my opinion. I don't want to attack this thing and run the risk of knocking it out with a critical hit, so we're going to throw a Pokeball and hope we catch this thing. Yeah! Yes! One ball. One great ball, and in the pocket it goes. Nice. What this means is not only do we have another encounter, but we can put this thing on the thumbnail, and we've got another clickbait thumbnail that isn't actually clickbait. Getting back to the run, we're going to name this thing Gork. Can you guys guess the name theme? Obviously, with the last encounter, I will tell the name theme. But let's go ahead and take a look at Gork here. Level 15, it has a Quiet, plus special attack, minus speed nature. I do not like the minus speed. That's never great in a Nuzlocke. It has Moxie, though. See, Sandile doesn't have a bad ability. Moxie or Intimidate, I would take either one. Now, just before you head through the gate into Route 4, to the left is this building right here. Now, in the lobby is a hiker with a Pikachu and is an imperative part of this game. If you don't have the hiker and the Pikachu, you're in the wrong building. We need to head up to the 11th floor. There is the lock capsule guy that never became a thing to our right there. And then there is this scientist here that when we talk to him says he invented a secret machine that only people with the password can use. I'm not a special people. I don't have the password, but what I do have is the power of Google. So with that, we can find out that the password to unlock this machine is everyone happy, simple connection. Now what we are doing is we are doing the steps needed to unlock a 3rd encounter here before we take on the 3rd gym leader. There is a lot to do. This is just the first step. The second part of this is simple connection, and I can't believe that the simple is found in the feelings tab. Pretty funny. To me. Nonetheless, we unlock this machine. Like he says, it gives us the relocator that we can fetch a special Pokemon or item by connecting to a special network. Now, he added it to the main menu, so it's not an item that we actually get, so we're going to need to save our game and then reset our DS and go to the screen and see what's up. I'm learning all of this for the first time. You guys are going to learn it with me. A quick little Control R on the DS gets us to the title screen, and if we skip through all of this really quickly and we pull up the menu, we can see that at the bottom here, we do have a new thing called the relocator. Beautiful. And this launches the DS wireless communications, which of course isn't a thing anymore. Pressing A on loading the network tells us that we can insert Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, Platinum, Heart Gold, or Soul Silver version into our DS and turn it on, and then we can select the relocator item, and this allows us to transfer very special event Pokemon over to Pokemon Black and White to unlock other event Pokemon within Pokemon Black and White. Long-winded way to get ourselves another encounter. Early 2011 had a couple of different events that you could be a part of depending on where you lived in the world. Those events got you some really special Pokemon, and then of course through the relocator item you could eventually trade them over here to Pokemon Black and White and trigger some special events in this game, and we're going to go through both of those. But the first one that I want to talk about is the Celebi event that was through GameStop from February 27, 2011 to March 7, 2011. In Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, you could get your hands on this event Celebi, and the neat thing about it is you could take it to the shrine in Ilex Forest, and you had a little bit more Pokemon game that you could see with Giovanni, going back in time and battling him. It was pretty neat. If we take a look at this Celebi that we've traded over to our Pokemon Black games, it has a fateful encounter at a special place. It's a mythical Pokemon, and it says right there, try taking it to Castelia City. I'm not going to use this Pokemon for anything other than the event, but I wanted to show this thing off nonetheless because it's pretty neat, and it is a very rare Pokemon. Now from the Pokemon Center, with this Celebi in our party, we can simply head down this road here, and then there is a building off to the right with a sign in front of it, and when you look at the sign it says Game Freak. This is the Game Freak building. We want to go in here and talk to these two guys right here. He will say this little boy got lost and he looks so lonely, so please talk to him. Then he goes yip yap, and Celebi comes out of its Pokeball and interacts with the boy, showing that it is actually a Zorua and not a little boy. If you don't have Celebi in your party, the interaction with these two people is very, very different. Because Zorua and Celebi are such good friends, it offers to join our team provided you have a Pokeball, so we can put this thing in a ball, and it is now a viable teammate. Crazy steps to get this far, but we do have a technical viable third encounter. Very nice. I'm going to nickname this thing Yun, and welcome to the team. Taking a look at our newly acquired Yun here, it's level 10, it has a naive plus speed minus special defense and nature, and it has the illusion ability. Okay, I will take it. It is another encounter. I'm happy to have it on the team. The crazy thing about Game Freak is they only allow Celebi one chance to get the Zorua, meaning I already got the Zorua, it says it right here, it finally met its friend in Castelia City safely. I can't trade it to you so you can get the Zorua in your game because it's already met its friend. It's such a crazy thing to me that you go through all that work to get this Pokemon traded over to a game, and then you can only use it once to get this encounter. After all of that, we finally have our third gym battle with the Bug-type expert Burgh. He leads with his Whirlipede, and I lead with our newly acquired Gork. Turn 1, I decide to go for Sand Tomb just to start setting up a little bit of residual damage. I know it's not going to do a lot of damage, and surprisingly it does a decent amount of damage, I should say. We get hit with a Pursuit that doesn't do much to us, and we start racking up a little bit of residual with the Sand Tomb. I then switch off to Bite, which does a lot more damage and flinches the Whirlipede, but unfortunately the Sand Tomb chip puts it into Healing Rage, so Burgh uses his first Hyper Potion. We then hit it with another Bite and take it not quite down to half. Sand Tomb takes it right down to half, but I don't think it's going to be enough to take it out. Another Bite takes it into low red health, and we get hit with a very nasty Struggle Bug down to 29 HP. The special attack drop doesn't matter, and Sand Tomb puts this thing on a sliver, so Burgh of course uses his last Hyper Potion. Gork really isn't having any of that because he crits the next bite right back down to that sliver of health after the residual Sand Tomb, and we can take it out with one more bite. This brings out Levani, and though Levani does have super effective Razor Leaf, I know we have Bite, I know we outspeed it, and I know it's frail, so I just stay in and go for Bite, which gets a critical hit and one-shots it. The crit did matter, but the Moxie boost is definitely helping. With +2 from Moxie as the Dwebble comes out, there's nothing that it can do, and we can easily one-shot it with Bite, winning us a very, very easy third gym badge. Taking on Charon on Route 4 with the Sandstorm up, the fact that his Pig Knight has a fighting type move, things could get real dicey real fast, but what happens in this battle is just weird. Against his Pidove, things go pretty normal to start out. We go for a priority fake out that does a lot of damage because of critical hit. Flinches him, of course, so we can take it out with a pursuit the very next turn. Easy one and done. Out comes Pig Knight. I go for Furious Wipes and unfortunately only get a 2-turn attack. Pig Knight then hits us with a Flame Charge that takes us all the way down to 19 HP because of a critical hit. I then swap in Yun. I'm swapping in Yun for some residual damage. We get hit with a Flame Charge on the swap in, and it does 22 HP of damage. I can stay in. I can tank one more non-critical hit. It's a bit of a risk, but I've got a risk. I go for Feint Attack after a defense scroll from Pig Knight, just to pull this thing into Citrus Berry healing range, which works flawlessly. And then after the chip from Sandstorm, I'm sitting way too low for comfort, so I swap in Gork. Pig Knight's just going for defense scroll, so it is sitting at +2 defense. It outspeeds us and goes for another defense scroll, sitting at +3, and a Sand Tomb surprisingly does a decent amount of damage. The residual damage from Sandstorm and Sand Tomb brings this thing into low red health, and we can take it out with one more Sand Tomb after it throws the battle by going for another defense curl. Crazy. This brings out his Pansage. Things could go south real fast here, but luckily for us, we take this thing out with a single +1 Moxie boosted stab bite. We get another Moxie boost as the Liepard comes out. I decide to go for bite because I don't have anything better to do, and it almost KOs the Liepard, but it also gets the flinch. After the Sandstorm, it's sitting at a sliver of health, and I can just take it out with another Sand Tomb. That was such a crazy battle, but the fact that Gork never took any damage is even crazier. This now gives us access to the Desert Resort where we can catch our next encounter, Scraggy. And this Pokemon is amazing provided it doesn't have the Shed Skin ability. If it has the Moxie ability, we're done. We're done. This is a great, great Pokemon. Of course, we have to try to catch this thing, and once again, I don't want to KO this thing with a potential critical hit. Yun does get knocked out of its illusion there with a Feint Attack, but eventually we do catch this thing after a few failed Great Balls, and we can finally nickname it. I'm going to nickname this thing Maw. Again, name theme, can you guess it? Let's take a look at Maw here. Maw has a serious neutral nature, it has the Shed Shell item already on it, and it has Moxie. We're done. Game over, we win. This Pokemon is phenomenal. Getting into Nimbasa City, we run into the Pajama Pita people once again, bullying another person out of their Pokemon, or at least trying, and of course he sees me and the first thing he thinks is, oh, a strong trainer, help me. So the Team Plasma challenges us, and once again, they're not very, very difficult. As a matter of fact, even though it says we've got Maw out front, it's actually Yun in disguise. Obviously, you don't see a fighting type move. We could have really won this battle really, really easy. We're still doing a significant amount of damage with feint attacks. I'm not really worried about Team Plasma. We're doing some training anyway on Yun here. Trubbish does manage to hit a double slap, but we take it out, and after winning this battle, the Team Plasma people run away, and the old dude gives us a bike. So, thanks. I appreciate it. We do get kind of an awkward date with N here in Nimbasa City. He takes us over to the Ferris wheel, and there is honestly no better way to look out over a city and really see the sights than from the top of a Ferris wheel. What is kind of embarrassing and a little bit awkward is the fact that he reveals for us that he is the king of Team Plasma, and of course he can't maintain his ruling unless he has a queen by his side. And I would love to end, I really would, but Jasmine has my heart. I'm sorry. I just can't do it. Despite having the team that we have, Elesa is still going to be a little bit of luck-based battle. The only strategy I have to shut down her volt-switching Emolgas is to lead with Gork, and I taught it Rock Tomb. It's the only strategy I have going forward. Unfortunately, we get outsped and hit with Aerial Ace turn 1 that does 21 HP of damage. Rock Tomb does connect and lowers Emolga's speed, which is great because we can outspeed it the very next turn and hit it with another Rock Tomb. These of course can miss, which makes this battle a little bit luck based. The Moxie boost is going to help us substantially, and +2 by the time we get to Zebstrika means we can win, but there is a bit of a risk. We get hit with Pursuit turn 1 from Emolga, which is very, very weird, and then we tag it with that Rock Tomb that almost KOs it, but not quite. This is going to force Elesa to use a Hyper Potion, which she of course does, fully healing up the Emolga, and there is that Rock Tomb miss. I was really worried about it. Rock Tomb connects the next turn, pulling this thing into low red health once again, but we get tagged with an Aerial Ace that takes us down to 19 HP. Elesa uses up her last Hyper Potion, so provided luck is on our side, we can tag this thing with a Rock Tomb back down to red health and hopefully hit it with one more, which we do to KO the annoying Emolgas. This brings out Zebstrika. I forgot Zebstrika had Quick Attack, so I stayed in and went for Dig, and it hits us with a Quick Attack, but we survive it on 5 HP of damage, and as I said before, the +2 with Moxie, the stab super effective 80 base Dig, we can easily one-shot the Zebstrika, winning us a very lucky 4th gym battle. In the earlier parts of 2011, there was another event called the Crown Beast events that were in tandem with the release of Zoroark, the Master of Illusion movie. The Crown Beast event was held where you could get your hands on one of 3 legendary beasts from Johto, and what was special about these is not only were they the legendary beasts, but they were also shiny, they had random moves, and all kinds of different neat things about them when you trade them over to a Gen 5 game. From January 3rd to January 9th, 2011, you could get your hands on a shiny Raikou. From January 17th to January 23rd, you could get your hands on a shiny Entei. And from January 31st to February 7th, which is right before the GameStop event, you could get a shiny Suicune. And if you look at these Pokemon, they say they had a fateful encounter in a special place. Try taking it to Lostlorn Forest. What does that mean? To get to Lostlorn Forest, you need to head north and west out of Nimbasa through this gate and out to Route 16. From here, don't run into the biker lady, but you head north through these patches of grass, and eventually you will see this opening in the trees, and this brings you into the Lostlorn Forest. With those Pokemon in our party, we can see another event happen here in-game. There's a lady in this camper here that normally doesn't say much to you, but when having the legendary beast in your party, she will attack you. Now, depending on the Pokemon you have in the lead will depend on what Pokemon she attacks you as. We have Entei in the lead, so she attacks us as a Suicune. If you have Raikou as your lead, she will attack you with an Entei. And of course, if you lead with Suicune, the Pokemon you will battle is Raikou. Now at this point, there are a couple of different things that you can do. You can attack this Pokemon and KO it. You can try to catch it. After we get tagged with the taunt, we will see that we attack this thing with an Air Slash, and it's not actually a Raikou, it is Zoroark in illusion form. That's the whole premise of the movie. Now, as I said, you can capture this Pokemon, and that is how you get a Zoroark in this game. I have showed you now how to get Zorua and Zoroark in black and white. I don't actually want to catch this thing. I'm glad it broke out of the Pokeball. What I want to do is defeat this thing for science. So let's go ahead and defeat this thing really quick with the power of editing. And now that we have beat it, we will see that the Pokemon vanished deep into the forest, and the forest has changed. There's no longer the little camper here. It's pretty neat. What I want to see, though, however, since we didn't catch it, is if we leave the Lostlorn Forest, does the event get triggered again? It looks like it does. That is awesome. Beautiful. So we can get attacked again by this Pokemon. And once again, I'm actually going to take this thing out because I want to see... I meant to do this earlier. But yeah, After beating it, it still says try taking this to Lostlorn Forest. It says it on all 3 of the Pokemon. We're doing a little bit of science here because I've never actually seen this event, so what I want to see is if we actually catch this Pokemon, what will happen? Obviously, we're going to get a Zoroark, but if we have all 3 of these Pokemon, can we trigger this event multiple times? Did a little bit of damage to this thing, and I'll go ahead and throw an Ultra Ball at it, and we catch it. That's awesome. There it goes into the Pokedex. I'm not going to nickname this thing because we're not actually going to put it on the team. As a matter of fact, I'm probably just going to release this thing so it's not even in the box. Oh, we get a little cutscene after the fact with Zoroark was using an illusion to trick people. And Pokemon, I heard this place was suspicious, so on and so forth. This is like a straight up movie reference right here with the reacting to the Pokemon we have, a history of a quarrel. That's, yeah. Anyway, the forest is now a beautiful place and no longer an illusion. If we take a look at the legendary Pokemon, Entei says it defeated Zoroark at the Lostlorn Forest, but the other 2 still say try taking it to the forest. And as science goes, we will see that returning to the forest with the other 2 beasts, and I've put Entei away. We already caught Zoroark. It is a one and done type thing. The forest is forever changed, and we can't re-trigger the event. Despite this still saying take it to the Lostlorn Forest. So that means you only needed one of these Pokemon, either Raikou, Entei, or Suicune. You didn't need all 3 of them, just one to get your hands on a Zoroark in Pokemon Black or White. And as I said before, I'm going to go ahead and release all of these Pokemon. I don't want them in my box. I don't want them potentially used or any of that stuff. We're not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to play games here. We are going to release all of these Pokemon so that we are back down to just the Snivy and the Pampor we got from the Dream Yard. Nothing else in the boxes, nothing up my sleeves. Now we've done the events, let's continue on the run. We have a nice evolution with Gork evolving into a Krokorok. Again, as I said before, the shiny version just looks weird. If you take a side-by-side comparison, it looks like this Pokemon was wearing sunglasses and got a really weird sunburn. On the Driftveil bridge, there's a potential to find these wings. They show up as little dark spots on the bridge, and these wings can be used the same exact way as the vitamins can be used to up a certain EV of your Pokemon. Now, just like in the Wellspring Cave, you have a potential chance to find the different wings, or there, of course, is a chance encounter when one of these spots arise, which, of course, is a Ducklet. We can't use that Pokemon, but nonetheless, you can do some quote-unquote EV training on this bridge. This is such an awkward thing in the game. Of course, I have so many comments, and I don't know which way I want to go with those comments, so you know what? I'm just not going to say anything. We're just going to move on. We have a pretty big Evo with Yun evolving into a Zoroark. In these games, it's a pure Dark type, and it's an okay Pokemon, but when I played Legends, this was a phenomenal Pokemon to have on your team as a Ghost Normal type. Just awesome. This is a great Pokemon too, and I'm happy for the evolution. The 5th gym leader is Clay and his ground types. This should be a relatively easy battle for us. He has a couple of Pokemon that are weak to fighting type, and I have Maw. I lead Maw against his Krokorok, and a stab super effective Brick Break is enough to cleanly one-shot it. This does activate our Moxie boost, which is really nice, and out next for Clay is Chancellor Palpitoad. Unfortunately, we don't KO Palpitoad with one single Brick Break, and then he does retaliate with a Bulldoze that lowers our speed. I'm not going to be able to outspeed the Excadrill in the back anyway, so it doesn't really matter, just annoying that we took a little bit of damage. Clay then goes for a Hyper Potion, fully healing up the Palpitoad, and I hit it with another Brick Break that this time gets a high roll and one-shots. This activates our Moxie again, so we are sitting at +2 as the Excadrill comes out. Excadrill could do some damage to us, but it decides to go for Hone Claws, throwing the battle. I go for a +2 stab super effective Brick Break, easily and cleanly one-shotting the Excadrill. Atop of the Celestial Tower, Skyla wants me to ring her bell, and this is definitely going to piss off Jasmine. I'm so sorry, Jasmine. You're not here. We're regions apart. This breaks my heart. Now, as we're going through Skyla's gym, everybody is at the level cap and somebody is going to have to overlevel. But one thing I wanted to point out here is we are actually Yun in disguise, and it's so cool. It's disguised as Gork, and it's even shiny in its illusion form. I wanted to point that out. I thought that was pretty neat. Next up is Skyla, and after making me ring her bell on top of the Celestial Tower, I have to defend Jasmine's honor and take out her Pokemon. Against her lead Swoobat, I lead with Gork. I decide to go for the Stab Super Effective Crunch, and we easily and cleanly one-shot the Swoobat. Now, even with the +1 to Moxie, I don't think we're going to one-shot the Swanna, but we're going to stay in and hope for a little bit of luck. Swanna sets up Aqua Ring turn 1, and I decide to go for Crunch because it's going to do a bunch more damage than Rock Tomb, but it doesn't quite KO. The HP restoration from Aqua Ring doesn't bring Swanna out of healing range because Skyla uses up a Hyper Potion. I decide to go for Rock Tomb that does less damage this time, leaving this thing out of healing range, and we can KO it with a Crunch. Very nicely done. This just leaves her Unpheasant, which comes out next, and even with +2, Crunch doesn't quite take out this Pokemon. That is pretty crazy. We get tagged with a Leer, lowering our defense. Skyla then uses another Hyper Potion, and I go for another Crunch. Again, not quite KOing the Unpheasant. It does go for priority quick attack, doing a little bit of damage to us, but we ultimately take it out with a Crunch, defending Jasmine's honor. Leaving Twist Mountain, we have a pretty beastly evolution with Maw evolving into its final form, Scrafty. This Pokemon has been great. Moxie is just a busted ability. With Maw on our team, with Moxie, Stab Super Effective Brick Break going up against Brycen's Ice types, he does not stand a chance. As a matter of fact, to show off the sheer power of Maw, we cleanly one-shot the Vanillish with a Stab Super Effective Brick Break. This brings us to +1 with Moxie as the Beartic comes out. Beartic? Beartic? Whatever. It goes down to a single Stab Super Effective Brick Break as well, and this brings us to +2 with Moxie as the Cryogonal comes out. The Cryogonal is surprisingly faster and does hit us with an Aurora Beam that of course can lower our attack. And it does lower our attack, so we're only at +1, but it doesn't matter because we cleanly one-shot the Cryogonal with a single Brick Break. That was a very, very easy gym battle. In Dragon Spiral Tower, there's a bit of a 4-on-1. I don't think that's very fair. The Pajama Pita people can't stop me, though. Doesn't matter. 4-on-1, 10-on-1, I will win. We can finally get to Route 9 and get our next encounter, Pawniard. Now, I'm not actually Panpour, obviously. Illusion, Panpour's on the team because it has Surf. And I was picking up a couple of different items. Pawniard is a pretty decent Pokemon with its Steel Dark typing. It is quad weak to fighting, so we're going to have to be careful where we have this thing on the team, but it is going to be useful having that Steel typing. So I'm excited to put this thing on the team. Obviously, we have, of course, got to catch this thing first. And with the Rocky Helmet, that's a bit scary. I forgot I had that thing on Yun. So we almost KO the Pawniard. I do decide to swap into Gork so that we don't KO this thing. If it hits us one more time and activated Rocky Helmet, it would knock itself out. And I really, really want this encounter. And yeah, Metal Claw definitely would have killed itself. We go ahead and start throwing some Ultra Balls at this Pokemon because we have them, why not? And surprisingly, we catch this thing. I'm kidding. It wasn't a surprise. We actually catch this thing. I knew we would. Now again, with the name theme here, we are going to name this thing Pick. Let's go ahead and take a look at Pick on the team here, and it has a quirky, neutral nature. It also has the Defiant ability, so anytime a stat is lowered, it's going to raise our attack. Very nice. Now we can sneak off to Route 10 and encounter a Volibee, which is our next encounter. Our second to last encounter, as a matter of fact. And I was doing a little bit of training on Pick here, so that's why he's at the lead of the team. Once again, we don't want to do too much damage or take this thing out, so we're going to just whittle it down just a little bit and then start throwing some Ultra Balls at it. We, of course, catch this thing very, very easily. And having some flying type on the team is nice. A little bit of different type coverage. Now, Vullaby here, we are going to nickname Bach. And it's going to go to the PC. Crap. Let's go ahead and take a look at Bach here. And Bach has a bashful neutral nature. A lot of neutral natures, but I will take it. It has big pecs, so it can't have its defense lowered, and that's awesome. Unfortunately, this thing does not evolve into Mandibuzz until level 54, so that is well after the Elite Four. Now, unfortunately, against Drayden, I don't have anything super effective, and coming up with a plan, I once again lead Maw. His Fracture is really easy to set up on, but things can get dicey pretty quick if you get too greedy. I did teach Maw Workup, so turn 1 we go for Workup, raising our attack, and we need to get 2 of these off. Fracture, of course, is a dancing dragon, and he's going to dance till the sun goes down, because next turn he outspeeds us and goes for Dragon Dance again. Like I said, dancing dragon can't stop, won't stop. I used 1 more workup, and I needed this +2 to get through the rest of the Pokemon, not necessarily the Fracture. It can't stop, it won't stop, it keeps dancing, and goes for a 3rd Dragon Dance, and we can one-shot this thing with a Brick Break. This, of course, activates Moxie, so now we're sitting at +3, and I needed to be at +3, or this Druddigon could easily take us out. Luckily for us, we can one-shot it with Brick Break because of the +3 to attack. We take a little bit of damage from the rough skin, and this brings us to +4 with Moxie as Haxorus comes out. I'm not scared of this Pokemon because with the +4 we can cleanly one-shot this with a Brick Break, and this went from being a difficult battle to very, very easily winning us the 8th Gym Badge. I had forgotten where exactly this last battle with Charon was, so I was a little unprepared leading with Maw against his Unpheasant. That's not a good matchup, so what I need to do is swap. I decided to swap in one of our newest team members, Bach, and Bach is a pretty decent Pokemon, even unevolved, and this is our only special attacker on the team. We do get hit with a taunt on the swap in, meaning we can't set up, which is annoying. Unpheasant is then going for Razor Wind. I go for Feint Attack, which is a physical move, and it does a pitiful amount of damage. The next turn we do outspeed and hit an Air Slash that does a lot more damage, and it gets the flinch. Very nice. Taunt wears off the same turn, so I go for Nasty Plot, which we get off, getting us to +2. Beautiful. Unpheasant then goes for Taunt again, meaning we can't set up anymore. It's going for Razor Wind once again, but I can take it out with 1 more Air Slash. This puts us in perfect position as the Emboar comes out, because not only do we outspeed it, but we also easily one-shot it with Air Slash. Nice. Liepard comes out, and Liepard is faster than us and hits us with a Slash, down to 97 HP, but a return Air Slash takes this thing to a Sliver, activating its Citrus Berry. That's a bit annoying we didn't one-shot it, but we tank another Slash all the way down to 72 HP, and we can take this thing out. This just leaves Charon's Simisage that I'm not too worried about. Unfortunately, it does outspeed us and hits us with a Seed Bomb that I thought wasn't going to do much, but it leaves us at 34 HP. That was pretty decent, but we cleanly one-shot it, winning us the last rival battle. Luckily for us, Gork learns Earthquake at level 48. It's the reason we haven't evolved it into its final Evo. We're going to teach it Earthquake and go ahead and let this thing evolve, getting one of the last evolutions that we can get on our team before we get to the Elite Four. This is an amazing and beastly evolution, but again, the shiny looks so weird. In Victory Road, we have our last encounter, Dino. Now, we have a full team already, but I'm going to go ahead and catch this Pokemon and put it on the team. That is, provided we don't KO it with a move, which we almost did with Crunch, despite it not being very effective. The downside to Dino is the high levels in which it evolves. It evolves at the level cap of 50 into Zweilous, but unfortunately it doesn't evolve into Hydreigon until level 64. So this is an alternate. We're going to put it in the box. We've got our team for the Elite Four, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get through the Elite Four deathless, so it's good to have a backup. We name our Dino Jarek. It has a quirky neutral nature, and for those of you that have been guessing the name theme, it is the 7 Dark Jedi. I thought that was a pretty neat little name theme for this team. Now, unfortunately, as I said before, I do have my 6 picked for the Elite Four, so Jarek here is just going to be an alternate, just in case things go south. And here is the team leveled up to level 50 to meet the level cap of the Elite Four. First off, we have Gork the Crocodile with Crunch, Brick Break, Rock Tomb, and Earthquake, with that nice ability Moxie. We have Maw the Scrafty with Crunch, a Poison Jab, a Dragon Claw, and Brick Break. Also gotta love Moxie, it's an amazing ability. We have Pick the Poniard with Night Slash, X Scissor, Metal Claw, and Poison Jab. Of course, we have our starter Ceres with Night Slash, Fake Out, Return, and Hone Claws. Next up, we have Yun the Zoroark with U-Turn, Shadow Claw, Night Slash, and Hone Claws. And rounding out the team is Bach the Vullaby with Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, Air Slash, and Shadow Ball. Another favorite thing that they did to Generation 5 is they changed up the way the Elite Four is. We have 4 different rooms that we can go to, and these are done in any order that we want to. We can go do the Ghost type, we can go do the Psychic, we can do the Dark, and we can leave Marshal for last because Marshal is a bit scary. The other thing that they did is they themed everybody's room really nicely. I know that there are room themes in other Elite Fours, but I thought this was cool that they give them a well done and well thought out room to each and every Elite Four member. Marshal and his fighting types are the only thing that scares me in this Elite Four. Every other matchup should be pretty decent for us, and I decided to go up against Shauntal and her ghost types. Her Cofferegus can be a bit annoying. I lead with Yun disguised as Bach, and I go for Night Slash turn 1. Night Slash does 3/4 of Cofferegus' health, but I forgot about the Mummy ability, so that gets rid of our illusion. We get hit with a resisted Shadow Ball, and despite it not being very effective, it does a decent amount of damage, and it gets the special defense drop, which is very annoying. Shauntal then throws a wrench in the plans. I was trying to get this thing low enough to heal anyway, and she does in fact use a full restore, so U-Turn gets Maw in for free. I then go for Crunch, and it does a lot of damage, not quite KOing the Cofferegus, but also we get hit with that Mummy ability, so there goes Moxie and kind of my plan. I screwed that plan up. We then get hit with a Will-O-Wisp, which is even worse because now our attack is low. I do decide to stay in, however, because Shauntal does use her second and last full restore. I fire off another Crunch that takes Cofferegus just above half health, and it's at this point that we obviously need to swap, so I swap Yun back in disguised as Bach. We get hit with another Shadow Ball, and it does again a decent amount of damage. Doesn't KO us, which is beautiful, and we can fire off a Night Slash that finally takes out the Cofferegus. 2 minutes worth of battle, a little bit sloppy, but we made it through the first Pokemon. This brings out Golurk. Golurk is going to go for Earthquake, more than likely, so I swap in Bach, and sure enough, it does go for Earthquake that doesn't affect us. I then fire off a Dark Pulse, and we get a critical hit to KO one-shot the Golurk. Very nice. This brings out Chandelure. I go for Dark Pulse turn 1, and it does right over half health. And Chandelure just misses Fire Blast, so we can KO it with another Dark Pulse. Very nice. This leaves Jellicent. Jellicent comes out, and we fire off a Dark Pulse, and this time it doesn't quite do half, but we get the flinch, which is very nice. Since I know I can't KO it with another one, I go for Nasty Plot. We are sitting at full health, so I know we can tank whatever comes our way. And we get hit with a very nasty Surf that if that had crit, it would have KO'd us. So a little bit of a risk, but we go unpunished as we fire off one more Dark Pulse, beating Shauntal, the first Elite Four member. In Unova, there's a little over 10 rare candies that you can find, and now that the Elite Four has started, I am going to go ahead and use these to actually get a couple of evolutions. I know this is a bit cheeky, but we're not cheating. We're using in-game stuff. I don't care. I want to see Bach evolve into Amanda Buzz and use Amanda Buzz throughout the entire game, and I want to get our Poniard to a Bisharp. Volibee is already proven to be a really decent Pokemon. I'm very surprised at how kind of bulky this thing is, so I cannot wait to see what Mandibuzz can do. Now, Pick evolves at level 52, but I'm going to go ahead and stop the evolution, and we're going to get this thing to level 54, because it learns Iron Head. I don't know that we're going to need Iron Head, but I have the rare candies to do this, so we'll do it. And now we'll go ahead and let this thing evolve into a Beastly Bisharp. I don't know that this thing is going to come in handy. It's been kind of rough training this thing. Despite it being a Steel type, it has been rather frail. Especially up against the Dragon Gym. But having a fully evolved team as we round out the Elite Four is going to be a huge advantage. Welcome to the Team Bisharp. Very nice. Against Grimsley and his Dark types, we should have a relatively decent matchup leading with Maw. Now, Maw is going to have to come out and do a mono battle against Scrafty. We have an advantage though, EV training, and we're 2 levels higher. We do outspeed the Scrafty as well, and we do a lot of damage with a Brick Break, not enough to KO. We get hit with a Sand Attack, which is very, very annoying. I did equip Maw with a Wide Lens, because I knew that this was going to happen. We can KO the Scrafty with 1 more Brick Break, and out comes Liepard. Liepard can be a bit annoying. It has Fake Out to hit us with some chip turn 1, which is very annoying. And then because it is very fast, it does outspeed us and hit us with Attract the next turn. Fortunately for us, Maw is not falling for the love shenanigans and can KO the Liepard with a single Brick Break. As the Bisharp comes out, we're at +2 from Moxie, and a quad super effective Brick Break is enough to one-shot it. We do get another Moxie boost as the Crocodile comes out and hits us with Intimidate. That lowers us back down to +2. We do get outsped and hit with an Earthquake. It does a decent amount of damage, but nothing we couldn't have survived anyway. We hit this thing with a Brick Break, and we one-shot it to win the battle against Grimsley. The easiest matchup for us in the Elite Four should be Caitlyn and her Psychic types. She does have a Reuniclus that she leads with, and it does have Focus Blast, so it can do some serious damage to our Dark types, but nonetheless, we do outspeed, and we can hit this thing with a Crunch. Now, this is a range to KO this thing. I do have the Black Glasses equipped to get that little bit of extra damage, and we get the favorable range one-shotting the Reuniclus. Things could have got dicey right there if we wouldn't have KO'd it, but nonetheless, we get a Moxie boost from that, and that's all she wrote. Sigalith comes out, and we one-shot it with a single stab super effective Crunch with a +1 from Moxie. Out comes Musharna, and we are at +2 from Moxie, so a stab super effective Black Glasses boosted Crunch KOs the Musharna. And last but not least is Gothitelle, who can't do nothing with a +3 from Moxie, stab super effective Crunch. We easily one-shot it, winning us the easiest Elite Four member for this run. I thought long and hard about this battle and was coming up with many different strategies using Sand Attack and Growl and trying to get Throw and Sock to use up all of their moves. Throw is not a huge threat, but it does have Stone Edge to counter any flying types. Sock has Sturdy, making it a little bit harder to work around. The plan is to go for Air Slash against the Throw. It does well over half damage, and then we take a Stone Edge. Stone Edge does have a chance to miss as well. Nonetheless, we're at 129 HP as we go for 1 more Air Slash, and we KO the Throw. Out comes Sock, and here's where I've put my plan into place. I immediately swap into Ceres, who can survive a critical hit Stone Edge if that happens, and sure enough, we get hit with a Stone Edge, and sure enough, it crits us, all the way down to 15 HP. Now we can use the priority Fake Out move to do some chip damage and break Sock's Sturdy. It should be going for a random move, so I'm going to swap back into Bach. As we swap in, Sock, sure enough, is going for Karate Chop, the weakest move it has, and the best case scenario for us. We're sitting at 99 HP as we fire off an Air Slash, and because the Sturdy is broken, we cleanly take out the Sock. Very nice plan. Conkeldurr comes out next, and I can't quite KO this thing, but I can survive whatever it's going to do, so I go for a Nasty Plot. Luckily for us, it just misses its Hammer Arm. Now we can one-shot it with a +2 air slash, and that brings out Mienshao. Mienshao goes down to a +2 boosted air slash as well. We did it deathless. Holy crap. I'm actually in complete shock that we did it deathless. It is very rewarding to spend time coming up with the plan and then executing the plan. Unfortunately, we did have to risk a couple of critical hits there. If Karate Chop had crit Bach, it might have been a different story there. I couldn't have left it in against the last two Pokemon, but nonetheless, we did have a plan. We executed the plan. We had a little bit of RNG on our side, and now we can move on to the final couple of battles of the game. As you guys know, N is up here whooping Alder's butt, and technically, N is the champion at this point. So if I beat N, I'm going to consider the run successful. We are going to take on Ghetsis, but if I lose, because Ghetsis is pretty difficult, it is what it is. N and his Zekrom is a pretty dangerous combination. Luckily for us, Gork in his dark ground typing walls Zekrom pretty well. He can't use Fusion Bolt and he can't use Psychic against us. That leaves him with Light Screen and Giga Impact. As a matter of fact, turn 1 Zekrom does go for Light Screen. We can then fire off an Expert boosted Earthquake that unfortunately is never going to get the KO. Just out of range. This forces N to use a full restore, healing Zekrom all the way up, and we can fire off another Earthquake that brings Zekrom back down to a sliver. That is the most damage that we can do. We then get hit with a nasty Giga Impact, and that takes us all the way down to 48 HP. If it had crit, we'd be done. The Brick Break gets rid of the Light Screen and the Zekrom at the same time. This brings out Vanillix. Because of our Moxie boost and the Expert Belt, we can one-shot this thing with a super effective Brick Break. This brings out Klinklang, but it's not actually Klinklang, it's Zoroark disguised, and it outspeeds us and goes for Flamethrower. I didn't know it would outspeed us. So we lose Gork. Our first death. That's very unfortunate. I didn't think that would happen. I bring out Maw, and it too gets outsped, but Zoroark misses its Focus Blast. We can easily one-shot it with a stab super effective Brick Break, getting rid of the illusion Zoroark. The real Klinklang comes out next, and it misses a Metal Sound, and a +1 stab super effective Brick Break one-shots it. And then sends out Archeops. I knew that was coming out next, so I swap into Pick. This is the first time he's seeing a real battle. He tanks the acrobatics pretty well. It does still do a decent amount of damage despite it being resisted. And then we have to tank a Stone Edge down to 62 HP, and then we can fire off that stab super effective Iron Head, cleanly one-shotting the Archeops. This just leaves Caracosta, but Caracosta is a pretty scary Pokemon, and with the death of Gork and everything that has happened, I kind of panicked and didn't really know what to do. I was kind of looking at my teammates, don't know how I'm going to take this thing out, and I finally decided to just leave Pick in and fire off an Iron Head. It does a decent amount of damage, and we get a little bit of recovery from Shell Bell, and then we get hit with a nasty Waterfall down to 30 HP, and that could have KO'd us if it had crit. So I've got to swap. I swap in Bach, and Caracosta reads the switch, going for Stone Edge. And Stone Edge, of course, does a significant amount of damage, taking Bach all the way down to 71 HP. Again, a critical hit would have knocked us out. I then decide to swap in our starter, Ceres, because I do not want to lose Bach. I don't want to lose any more Pokemon. Ceres swaps in on another Stone Edge. And once again, this takes us all the way down to 42 HP. Any critical hit would have knocked us out. I do a little bit of chip with Fake Out, and it gets a critical hit. Very nice. And at this point, I decide to swap Maw back in. There's nothing else I can really do. Maw can sit here and tank a Stone Edge, and hopefully take this thing out. We fire off a stab, super effective Brick Break, and luckily for us, that is enough to take out the Caracosta and win us the end battle. But it cost us our beloved friend, Gork. Man, Ghetsis and his team is just really, really hard to play around with. His Cofferegus is more annoying than Shauntal's, and we lost Gork, but he got healed because of how this game works, so I immediately need to swap. Luckily for us, I can swap Pick in, because Pick can resist everything that Castelia has. The only thing it can do is hit us with a Shadow Ball, which of course it goes for turn 1. However, it lowers our special defense, so our Defiant ability activates and we get a +2 to attack. Very nice. Castelia is smart and goes for Protect, so we can't hit it, but inevitably we do get off a Night Slash that cleanly one-shots the Castelia. We do get hit with that Mummy ability, but it is what it is at this point. This baits out the Hydreigon. This Hydreigon is very scary. It has both Focus Blast and Fire Blast. I decide to go for X-Scissor, but we get outsped and get hit with that Focus Blast that unfortunately is enough to cleanly one-shot pick. Your time was short on the team, but you were clutch in this battle. The only thing I have that can take out Hydreigon is Maw, so I swap Maw in. We do avoid a Focus Blast, and we can hit a stab super effective Brick Break that doesn't take out the Hydreigon. We then get hit with a Focus Blast, and it does a ton of damage, but luckily Maw is a beast and tanks it on 20 HP, firing off another stab super effective Brick Break, getting rid of that nasty Hydreigon. Bouffalant comes out next. We can cleanly outspeed it, and we can cleanly one-shot it with that +1 stab super effective Brick Break. As the Electros comes out, I do not want to sack Maw yet, because I need Maw for one more Pokemon, so I've got to swap into something. I decide to swap in Ceres because I figured this thing is going to go for Acrobatics, but because of our low health, it just picks a random move and goes for Wild Charge. Wild Charge does a lot of damage, down to 52 HP, but it gets hit with a little bit of recoil. We can then hit it with a Fake Out for some chip damage, taking it down to about a quarter of its health gone. And then I fire off Return. I should have went for Night Slash here to do more damage, but I didn't want to put this thing in healing range, as it goes for another Wild Charge, KOing Ceres, and taking itself down into that aforementioned healing range. This is a bit risky, but I decide to send Bach out. I know Ghetsis is going to use a full restore, so turn 1 I can set up a nasty plot. Full restore heals Electros all the way up, and we nasty plot. We then fire off a Dark Pulse that does very good damage, but not KOing the Electros, and then it goes for Acrobatics for some reason, which misses. So one more Dark Pulse can take out this thing. What a beastly Pokemon. Very scary. Bisharp comes out next, and this is why I need Maw, but I need a free swap into Maw. So I swap in Yun. I didn't think Yun was going to get taken out immediately on the swap, but unfortunately we get hit with a critical hit Stone Edge, and we're one-shot. Whoops. I was going to sack Yun, but I didn't plan for us to get KO'd the first time. We then fire off a quad super effective Brick Break with Maw, and that cleanly takes out the Bisharp, and this is why we didn't sack Maw earlier. This brings out Seismitoad, Ghetsis' last Pokemon, and there's nothing I can do but stay in, fire off a Crunch, do significant damage to the Seismitoad, and then go ahead and get taken out with a Sludge Wave. There's no sense in swapping into my last Pokemon and potentially losing it to a critical hit. We bring Bach out. There's nothing going to happen here. We're going to fire off a Dark Pulse, and we are going to win the Ghetsis battle, but we lost our entire team. Bach is the last girl standing. The final girl. This run was so much fun. We learned some things. We showed off some different events that are pretty cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know this one's going to be a little bit late. As I said, work was kind of killer a couple weeks ago, and it hasn't gotten any better. So if you guys did enjoy this video, you know the routine. Leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing to the channel if you're new. Again, the continued support is so thankful, and I'm having so much fun making these. I need to hurry up and get this one edited and get it out to you guys. Though it is late, I do want to get working on the next project, because hopefully that one is the one that sends me to the top, or to the moon, or whatever. I just want to... You know, it's not so much that I want to be famous as I just want to be infamous, where people definitely know who I am. But I don't want to do it in such a heinous way like the Joker and Batman, right? We want to do it in a nice way. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for the continued support. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.